James Bond, a character about whom he's read surprisingly little.
I don't know I've only read 2 of the books, 1.5 of the books.
Is that so?
Yeah, so I met Fleming 2 or 3 times, and we got on very, very well. I liked him enormously. But we just lacked humor, I thought, in the books.
So welcome to Trimming the Movie Fat, the podcast where we trim films from franchises that don't belong. I'm Stephen Nicholson, and thank you for joining us for our latest show dedicated to Bond, James Bond. This week, we're off to the Far East in Little Nelly to take a look at Sean Connery's 5th Bond movie, 1967's You Only Live Twice. Joining me are my brother and former TTMF co-host Paul, and our friend Paul Melon.
Welcome, Honorable 007. He's the one and only Sean Connery.
Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond.
He's bigger than life, facing 1,000 deaths. And you only live twice, and twice is the only way to live.
We're too late.
Well, at least he died on the job.
Bond is dead.
Bond is alive. Kill Bond! Now!
No matter what the odds, they don't stand a chance against James Bond, Sean Connery, 007. Bond, the world's greatest gentleman agent with a license to kill. And he never misses a chance.
What's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this?
Bond is back, grabbing love where he finds it.
Like a lamb to the slaughter.
Everywhere. Bond rises in the East. The odds, 1,000 to 1, but they don't stand a chance.
Get down!
All this is just a drop in the ocean. The best yet from the film creators of 007.
Tiger said, from now on, you must do everything in Japanese style.
Everything?
How has being James Bond affected your life?
Well, this is the sort of outcome of one of the facets, and that's I live in Acton. We have a marvellous house in Acton, wonderful situations. Unfortunately, it's too accessible. It means that people can come, right up front gate, get in, and it's the only house in the street. It's a cul-de-sac right by a park, perfect situation, but they just come up and sit on top of the cars or come in the gate, knock at the door. It's too easy, and it's the invasion of one's privacy, and I don't believe any of the rubbish about the price of fame or all that sort of jazz. I don't go for that at all.
Have they been unpleasant? I mean, are people unpleasant?
As a rule, no, but you get some real head cases that come round and have the most, sort of absurd requests, like, it would be marvellous to come in and have tea, or could we come in and take some photographs, or could I sign on your wall, or, juvenile, insane ideas. And there's only one way to solve it, is something practical, and that is not to be there.
So You Only Live Twice was released in 1967 and directed by Lewis Gilbert. So during the Cold War, American and Russian spacecrafts go missing, with each superpower believing the other is to blame. As the world teeters on the brink of nuclear war, British intelligence learns that one of the crafts has landed in the Sea of Japan. After faking his own death, secret agent James Bond, played by Sean Connery, is sent to investigate. So, in Japan, he's aided by Tiger Tanaka, played by Tetsuro Tamba, and the beautiful Ake, played by Akiko Wakabayashi, who helps him uncover a sinister global conspiracy.
All right, it's Wakabayashi.
I know, but since this is about take 12, I'll let that say in. So, the gross for this movie, it made over $111 million US dollars on a budget of $9.5 million. So it made nearly 12 times its budget, which is a little bit down on Thunderball, but not by too much. And ratings-wise, it's got a 73% fresh Rotten Tomatoes score, a 68% audience score, and over on IMDb, it's got a 6.8 out of 10 audience rating and a 61 out of 100 critic meta score. So again, like the box office, this is slightly down on Goldfinger, the previous movie. And here's a fact for you, that the volcano set on this movie cost almost as much as 007's debut movie, Dr. No, in 1962. That one set cost the same as the production of that entire movie. It was so large it could be seen from 3 miles away. That's how big the set was. And if you're looking for a movie mistake, after a 4-hour hike to the top of the crater with no backpack, Bond suddenly pulls out a full suction cup apparatus setup. How did he ever know to bring this, not knowing there was anything inside this crater? Maybe he was just lucky. And in summary, with exotic locales, impressive special effects, and a worthy central villain, You Only Live Twice overcomes a messy and implausible story to deliver another memorable early Bond flick. So guys, what was your first experience watching You Only Live Twice, and has your opinion on it changed over time? Because I know for me it has.
I watched it on the telly again, TV. It's magic. I think they showed it every so often. They have a run of Bond films on a Sunday night. They still do now, actually. Initially, it was one of my favourites of the Connery era, but over time, my opinions kind of changed. It's kind of flat, really. A lot of good parts in it, as always with the Bond films, but you could tell Connery just had enough, because when he was filming in Japan, he was getting harassed all over the place. Every time he left the hotel, he got mobbed. He couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, so he's basically stuck in his hotel.
Upon arrival in Japan, Connery is swarmed by reporters.
Well, the first day, the first morning, there were hundreds of these people.
Now, he's here, and he has not been given the privilege and respect of Japan for a certain amount of privacy.
We had to hire in a special force of security guards to protect the set and to protect him.
He hasn't even had his lunch right now. He had to go back up to his room because he didn't have the privacy of having a little lunch.
And you can sort of tell he was kind of fed up with the whole franchise, and it showed in a lot of parts of the film. You could just see it was just like acting by the numbers. But I think it's a cracking opening. I love the opening, and I love the main theme as well. You Only Live Twice. It's a great song. And there was good bits afterwards, but when he turned Japanese, yellow face and everything else, I just thought, nah, this is getting silly now. And he turns into a ninja after about 2 minutes training. It's it just got a bit stupid by then. Yeah, it has to be semi-plausible, but turning Japanese and becoming a ninja in the space of like a couple of weeks, then marrying some Japanese lassie as well, just for a front. It's just nonsense, I'm afraid. But Donald Pleasance was a great Blofeld.
Mm-hmm.
He was really, really good. Like, kill Bond now and all this. But I think overall, over time, it's not one of my favourites anymore.
Yeah, I kind of agree, actually, because I always held it in such high esteem, maybe the best Bond film, or certainly the best Sean Connery film. I still do have a lot of affection for it, but like you, I think when I've watched it again, I thought it's maybe not as good as I remember, but there's still iconic moments in it, and probably the first great soundtrack, I would say. As you say, yeah, Sean Connery was maybe out going for the motions a bit because he was just arguably the biggest movie star in the planet at the time, and just like in Japan, they were crazy for him, followed him everywhere. Because it was one of the first films that I saw, the first Bond films, I've got a lot of nostalgia reasons for it as well. It's always going to be up there, I think. Probably not as good, really, if you're looking at objectively to a few of the other Sean Connery ones, but I'll always see it as one of the best, definitely. And of course, a bit like Thunderball, and then this, and then, of course, years later, that's when all these spoof films came out, like The Underground Lair and the Blofeld and Dr. Evil and the Cat. This was like the peak of all that parody, what would become parody. But I still think it's a brilliant film. My favourite bit's probably the bit where he's on the rooftop. I just love the way that's filmed and the music. He's running along and one guy against 25 and he's like beating them all and all that. But yeah, there's things in it which you wouldn't do now. There's the fact that he's over 6 foot in Japan I think it kind of gives it away that he's not Japanese when you look at him. He's got this terrible Beatles style wig when he's Japanese and stuff. So, but you see it for what it is. It was of its time, and I wouldn't change that.
The scene you mentioned there about where in the dock where he's fighting across the rooftop, obviously soundtracked by the John Barry score, is maybe my favourite moment in all of Bond history. I love that. That's just brilliant. I actually vividly remember watching this because we both were going to a party with my granddad. He'd come up to collect us to take us to the Christmas party, and I remember this was on TV and I hadn't seen it before and thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always remember that. And now, I every time I see this, I change my opinion. Sometimes I go, this is totally stupid, but I don't care. I love it. It's great. It's just stupid. I mean, it's stupid in that you've got helicopters lifting cars off the road and dropping them in oceans. You've got Bond disguised as a Japanese fisherman. You've got Bond suddenly having a safe cracking kit in his suit from nowhere. The ninja gear appearing from nowhere. Him learning to be a ninja in 2 minutes. And like nonsensical stuff like, why does Brandt, who's obviously the bad woman or the bad Bond girl in this, why does she take him up on a plane to kill him when she can just kill him with a scalpel on the boat after he's captured? It makes no sense whatsoever, other than, well, we could have this really cool sequence where Bond's in a plane that's crashing and then he escapes in a parachute. It's like, because there's absolutely zero sense for her to do that. So sometimes I think it's stupid, but that's what makes it great. And other times I think, But by the same token, there's so many great things in it to really enjoy. The different components, there's so much to really enjoy, and we'll pick up on some of them, during this episode. And one of those great things is obviously it does take Bond to Japan. So how well do you think the film handles its setting and the culture, other than Bond being dressed up to be a Japanese fisherman, which we'll ignore for the time being?
I think it was quite respectful, apart from that part. I think treated the Japanese people with respect to the culture. You see the sumo wrestlers, and you see parts of Tokyo, and you see like the countryside, the seaside looks absolutely beautiful. And you see how they portray the locals at that, in the village, the seaside village. I think it was perfectly respectful. There was no parody or Mickey take or anything like that. It was just showing them what it was like, what life was like over there. And at the time, it was still a pretty closed society. There wasn't much tourism, probably because of the fallout from the war and things like that. They were still rebuilding after the war. And so they showed another side to the Japanese people, a side which, at that time, was probably not well recognised because of the war and everything else. They showed that they're actually, decent people. and they're rebuilding their country. And yeah, I think it was done in a respectful way.
Yeah, and for me as well, you had the cinematographer, obviously Lewis Gilbert, but the cinematographer on this movie was the director of photography for Lawrence of Arabia. He's worked with David Lean, so this film looks fantastic. So I think when you've got, I mean, Japan looks amazing in this movie, and you've got this great cinematographer, you've got John Barry's, arguably best James Bond score as well, soundtrack in it. I mean, Japan looks fantastic in this movie, and I've never got there, and it's still on my bucket list, but one of the reasons I probably want to go is because of this movie back when I was a lot younger, because it just looks a fantastic place.
Yeah, I think it looks like yourself. Because of that, I'd love to visit Japan. And where I used to work years ago, I used to have a few Japanese friends, and they're just, I would say, probably the nicest people you'll meet. They're so well mannered and respectful, and you got to, like we're saying, that this film was done 22 years after the war, so it's not that long. It was only 22 years. So I think this showed a side of Japan that maybe the West hadn't seen. Maybe there's maybe still a lot of anti-Japanese feeling, maybe because of the war. But I think this film showed the real Japan, and it looks amazing. It looks beautiful, and for me, the music using the Japanese sound, I love that. It's a Kyoto, like a sound a bit like a harp. It's just beautiful sound, and I'd love to go there. So I think it actually was a big tourist boom for Japan. To be honest, I think a lot of people saw that and would want to go and experience the culture as well.
A bit more light-hearted. You got any favourite kind of humorous moments or one-liners from this movie?
I don't think there was as many one-liners in this film as previous ones, was there? The only one I can remember is when, near the end, at Blofeld's lair, where the guy fell into the pool with the piranhas or whatever. He said, "Bon appetit," and then walked away. That's the only sort of one-line I can remember in the whole film.
Bon appetit.
There's nothing that really stands out, unless I've completely forgotten other ones, apart from Blofeld, this organisation does not tolerate failure and things like that. But from Bond, that's all I can remember.
Well, that's a good job. Me and Paul are on hand to probably refresh your memory. You got any, Paul?
Probably the famous one, which used to annoy me when I was younger. The Things I Do for England. Because I always used to think, it's not England that's Britain. When he's having his wicked way with, what's her name, Helma? Is it Helma? What's her name?
Oh, the bad woman in the movie.
Yeah.
Helga Brandt, I think it is.
And that scene, because it was quite scary a bit when she does the scalpel, and then the next minute, I was always thinking, I bet that dress cost a lot of money, and he just ruined it by ripping it. But
well, let me give you some of the one-liners you're forgetting then, guys. So Mr. Osato gives Mr. Fisher, a.k.a. Bond, a row for smoking, and Helga's going, Mr. Osato believes in a healthy chest, as Helga's right in Bond's face for boobs. It's like,
is this some kind of bust? Yeah, it's very impressive.
You should give up smoking. Cigarettes are very bad for your chest.
Mr. Osato believes in a healthy chest.
Really?
And also the bit where Paul was talking about where Helga's got the scalpel. I think at one point Bond goes, well, help yourself. He's captured. Help yourself.
Where am I?
You're in my cabin on the Ningpo. Leave him to me now, wait in there. And shut the door. I've got you now.
Well, enjoy yourself.
And I think after he's got the plane, obviously the plane crashes, he's got the parachute and he makes his way back to the ninja place, and I think Aki's going, James wouldn't touch that horrible woman. He's like, oh, heaven forbid. So there is some stuff in there, but not in anywhere near the same level as Thunderball or maybe Goldfinger. Paul, you'd mentioned Donald Pleasant's Blofeld earlier on. Did he live up to the build-up from the previous films, where we only got, from Russia with Love, Thunderball, kind of fleeting glances or hearing his voice? Did he live up to the billing, the hype?
Yeah, I would say so.
James Bond, allow me to introduce myself. I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld. They told me you were assassinated in Hong Kong.
Yes, this is my second life.
You only live twice, Mr. Bond.
It sounded reasonably menacing. Looked quite scary as well. Quite cold, I think. With the English accent, it makes it a bit colder, sort of mixed accent. And yeah, I thought it was really good.
For me, it's my favourite iteration of Blofeld and the Bond series. The look, the voice, and everything, just totally iconic.
Just brilliant, just everything about him. And but even when you see him for the first time and he sort of turns around, comes in the chair, and all that's just quite iconic.
And inspired one of comedy's great characters as well, Dr. Evil. So there we are. And coming on, the wrong expression to use, coming on to the Bond girls, Aki and Kissy Suzuki. Do they stand out in the franchise for you?
Did you write that one down?
Actually, didn't. Call that a Freudian slip, so to speak.
Yeah, I think they did, yeah. I think because the characters were Japanese, they couldn't be sort of, I don't know, strong or overbearing, maybe a bit like Japs. I'm going to sound like a complete bigot here, but being sort of respectful, I suppose, not shouty or aggressive or threatening, but respectful and kind at all times, very polite, but still being strong as well. It's not being sort of nasty like you had with other sort of Bond girls or Bond baddies, the women like Claire and others. Respectful. And I think it's shown the way Bond treated them as well. He didn't try and force his way onto them because it was a different culture, a different society.
And actually, Bond was really so devastated by the loss of Aki that he was in mourning for like 5 minutes.
It's a lifetime in a Bond film, I suppose.
He looks upset next day. Hey, I'm back joking and doing ninja training. Easy come, easy go.
But he's got his list. Okay, tick. Next one.
I know. Ding.
Yeah, Foreigner.
On to Kissy now. Kissy.
But I actually thought, obviously after it, he doesn't really show that much care, but I actually think that's quite an emotional bit when she dies, actually, the way it's filmed. And it shows a kind
And the soundtrack.
You know, the bit where the poison, I think that's a really good scene, actually. And she plays it really well, like the connection with him and stuff. So, like it. When they get married and he goes, we need to keep up appearances, married couple. No, that was quite funny, that bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of the reverse to you. I don't think Aki and Kissy are that memorable at all, really. Other than obviously it was unusual at the time to have him be working with female agents in the Far East. Yeah, other than that, just didn't really stand out for me.
Rule number 1 is never do anything for yourself when someone else can do it for you.
And number 2?
Rule number 2, in Japan, men always come first, women come second.
I might just retire to here.
Moving on, the volcano lair is obviously one of the most iconic Bond villain hideouts, if not maybe the most iconic. What makes it so memorable, and even after all these years, so impressive when you see it on the big screen?
Just the scale of it, the fact that it was real, not CGI or any other kind of special effects. It was all genuine. I think it's up there with the set from The Spy Who Loved Me. The ship. That was really impressive as well. It just goes to show if you build it for real, it looks a hell of a lot better than
it's more authentic
models or exactly authentic. If you don't use models or any kind of other special effects, of course it was the 60s, so obviously CGI was around at that time. So a lot of special effects were done using models, which always looked a bit obvious. I think in Thunderball, the opening scene with the church, when they're outside the church, you could tell it was a model. It was done to scale. It looked artificial. But this set in this film, it looked genuine because it was genuine.
Yes, it set the tone for me, like budget productions, and because it's Ken Adam. Did he not go on and do like 2001 and stuff like that as well? Which would have been, was that the year after?
I mean, Ken Adams, an absolute genius production designer, and he worked with Kubrick, like Dr. Strangelove. He also done The Spy Who Loved Me, the submarines and everything in the ship. So yeah, it's
amazing.
Next level. I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's got a working monorail. Come on.
And you do believe it's actually like a crater, though, don't you? Believe it's like an underground layer, when you watch it.
Absolutely. For me, it's one of the all-time great movie sets. And it's so memorable, even this day, you think of that, the volcano layer. I mean, it's become a bit of a kind of joke type thing, isn't it? Oh, your underground, your volcano layer. But it's because it's just so impressive. Now, talking of impressive, if you could have one gadget from this movie, what would it be? So for me, I think it would have to be Little Nelly, the flying little gyrocopter thing, which is brilliant.
I have much curiosity, Bonsan. What is little Nelly?
Oh, she's a wonderful girl. Very small. Quite fast. Can do anything. Just your type.
A toy helicopter?
No, it's certainly not a toy. You'll see.
What about you guys? What gadget would you take from this movie?
I like the cigarettes with the shooting stars on them. You just and kill someone.
Again, that'd be nice in a work meeting as well, huh?
Yeah, well, after work in the pub.
Yeah, you didn't get them with the chair that fried you. Get them in the pub afterwards.
They get a little Nelly to bomb the pub, but you get the cigarettes instead, go for a smoke. Yeah, take that.
Yeah, all eventualities covered, yeah.
It's very useful for people who smoke too many cigarettes like you. Accurate up to 30 yards.
Very neat.
It can save your life, this cigarette.
You sound like a commercial.
I quite like the thing at the start, how he has the breathing thing. Permission to come aboard, sir. It's like an oxygen mask thing on. I think that's quite cool. I don't know if you'd class it as a gadget, but it's really quite clever the way they do that.
Let me ask you the question, Paul. Would you be happy being bound up like that and not being able to move inside basically a coffin with the mask on, hoping that you hit the seabed, that people pick you up?
If it fooled my enemies into thinking I was dead, I would be all for it.
Oh, the missus.
Well, that's actually a strange thing in this movie. I've never really got it because obviously it's like MI6 has set Bond up with this girl, but it's not very clear in the movie for me. It's like, right, is she good or is she bad? And are the people that come running in, are they bad guys? Because they're obviously firing bullets. So where does the fake blood come from? It always made me a little bit confused as to, is the whole thing staged? Are the bad guys that come in, are they part of it? Is the girl that Bond's with part of it, or both, or neither? What's your take on it?
I think it was a setup, or staged, I should say, because the whole point was to let Bond's enemies think he was dead. Whether the woman he's with is part of the gang that was chasing him, or whatever, who knows? It seems to me, it was staged because, as you say, you mentioned that the blood, where's all that come from? Yeah. Maybe it's to fool the police. I don't know.
I know.
It was a bit odd.
It doesn't make sense.
It was Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It was Hong Kong as well, wasn't it?
Hong Kong, yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It never has done. Always like every time I watch it, it'll make sense. Like, well, no, it doesn't. And so talked about different cultural things, where obviously we said that they wouldn't get away with dressing Bond up as a Japanese fisherman anymore. If there's any other parts in the movie where you think, ooh, don't know if you'd get away with that now.
Is it the bit when he's with Tanaka? In Japan, it's their Bond, men come first. But then maybe it was at that time. Maybe that was the culture. I don't know. Yeah,
or maybe retire here.
Yeah, I liked how Bond had a first in Oriental languages, but never actually used it apart from saying thank you to the sumo wrestler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he got that microdot thing with the ship with all the Japanese letters on the characters. He had to get Tanaka to translate it for him.
That's right.
But he was a first in Oriental languages.
But maybe he was just being polite and didn't want to look like a smart aleck.
Well, Bond.
No, yeah, you're right. But yeah, this is the guy who's, oh, do you like sake, Mr. Bond? Yes, I do, especially when it's served at, was it, I don't know, degrees centigrade.
Do you like Japanese sake, Mr. Bond? Or would you prefer vodka martini?
Oh, no. I like sake. Especially when it's served at the correct temperature. 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit, like this is.
For a European, you are exceptionally cultivated.
That bit is good, you know, when he's chasing the guy in the building. I love the set, like the floor. But do you know the bit where the sumo wrestler guy, he pretends he's like the other guy, and he goes, surely you would know that was somebody different. You know, he puts him in the back of the car.
Yeah, the getaway driver's going, he's grown a bit since he left the car. He's about a foot and a half taller. What's happened there? You know, lucky that the clothes fit. Yeah, that was a bit of good luck. Actually, to be fair, that's actually a really good scene when at Osata's office with the big guy.
Good.
Fighting him, you know, the couch and everything. That's a really good scene, yeah. Let's talk about the music then. Theme tune was sung by Nancy Sinatra?
Nancy
Sinatra.
I'm starting rumours. So Nancy Sinatra, where would you kind of rank that theme tune in the annals of Bond theme tune history? How high would you rate it?
It's one of my favourites.
Me too.
Yeah,
it's another iconic opening.
Yourself and one for your dreams.
The iconic opening for Goldfinger and all the other Bond films, but this one is just, it's different. It's not bombastic or big brass or anything like that. It's just a nice, gentle entry into the song. The entry alone is just memorable.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you hear it, you know it's Bond and You Only Live Twice. And then Nancy Sinatra, cracking voice and beautiful voice, just perfect for the song.
For me, it's the best Bond song to date at that time. It's just brilliant, just like John Barry. And I love the guitar as well, the sort of flange effect in the guitar. It's just a great sound, and just the orchestra is just phenomenal.
I think for me, it might be my favourite all-time Bond theme. I think it's a beautiful song, isn't it? Just the instrumentation on it, everything about it is amazing, and it does bring to mind the Far East, which does its job. And there's two versions of this. There's one which was released as a single, which was meant to be a more commercial type version.
You only live twice, or so it seems. One life for yourself and one for your dreams.
And you've got the original one, which is used in the movie and on the soundtrack album, and both are brilliant. But yeah, I think the original one that's used in the movie is the better of the two. And actually, if you hunt it down online for the Shaken and Stirred David Arnold James Bond project he did in 1997, Burkett did a version of this, and it was pulled from the album at the last minute because she didn't think it was worthy. Didn't think it was up to the quality of the original, so she pulled it. But you can get it online, and it's a shame she didn't officially release it because it's fantastic.
It's good, yeah.
It gets your attention from the beginning, but in a completely different way. You know, like from Russia with Love, and the others, it grabs your attention because it wakes you up with the brass entrance. But this one, it's just gentle, but it still gets you going. You know, it gets your attention because it's just such a beautiful sound at the beginning, and it leads into the cracking melody. It's very special.
And that leads us nicely into the soundtrack album overall by John Barry, which I have on vinyl here. Just I'm not going to dive over to my cupboard to grab it, but for me, I think this and On Her Majesty's Secret Service are the two greatest James Bond soundtracks. It'd be a straight up fight between those two. And I think you mentioned it earlier on, Paul, the use of Japanese Far East instrumentation on it there. It's very sweeping. It's very romantic in a lot of ways. Just a fantastic listen on its own. Do you guys obviously rank it really highly as well?
Yeah, I like the music at the beginning with the spaceships.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
With the circle to swallow up the other one. Yeah,
And the tension builds up until it swallows
brilliant.
it, and then it goes. It's brilliant. Yeah, just captures the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's superb. Yeah, definitely. That's superb. And then all the way through the film, you get the main theme coming back every so often, and then the Japanese Far East sounds as well. Yeah, it's a special soundtrack.
It is. Not only top tier Bond soundtrack, I'd say a top tier soundtrack of one of the top tier soundtracks of all time in movies. It's that good.
It's brilliant, and I actually find some of it quite relaxing. You know, the Japanese music, it's just quite peaceful. You could just relax listening to it. Like Paul says, I love the bit when the ships are disappearing, the spaceships, and the music and how it builds up.
Like trimming the movie fat, why not check out our other podcast, Trimming the Musical Fat?
So guys, as ever, we rank these movies out of 5, and we decide whether we would keep it in the franchise or not. So I'm going to come to you first, Brother Paul. What would you rate this out of 5, and would you keep it in the franchise?
Keep it in. I'm going to give it 5, just because we've been talking about it and stuff.
Okay, Paul?
I'm going to give it a 3. If you'd asked me this about 20 years ago, I would have said 4. If you asked me that about another 30 years ago, I would have said 4.5. But it's kind of gone down in my estimation upon more frequent viewing and compare it to the ones before, especially.
Okay. Once upon a time, I would have easily given this 5 out of 5, but with these older, more experienced eyes, I probably have it now. There's still loads to enjoy in this. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. There's so much to enjoy. It's maybe nostalgia, and you're a big Roald Dahl fan as well, who wrote this movie, or adapted anyway the screenplay for this based on the Ian Fleming book. But yeah, I mean, I would keep it in here. Of course you would. You're not going to get rid of piranhas and volcanoes and Blofeld, and there's so many of the things James Bond is associated with in this movie. Maybe the more outlandish type things, which maybe originated from this more than what had come before. So yeah, you've got to keep it in here. And the good news is, guys, we've still got 2 more movies to cover, which we'll get to over the next little while. So we've got Connery's final official James Bond movie, Diamonds Are Forever, to look at, and we're going to take a look at the spoof 1967 Bond movie with the likes of Peter Sellers and David Niven and such like. So Casino Royale from 67, which I'm looking forward to discussing on another episode. So we'll look forward to that. So thank you for joining me again, guys. It was good to catch up and get your thoughts on You Only Live Twice. Thanks to you all for listening, and do come back and join us for the next show, which will likely be Diamonds Are Forever, which I'm looking forward to discussing, because I actually don't know what Paul and Paul really think of that, really. So we've never had a good in-depth discussion about it, so I am looking forward to it. So come back for that one, and until then, keep trimming.
Trimming the Movie Fat is a Stephen and Paul Nicholson production. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us by voicemail via the Spotify link in the episode description. You can email us at trimmingthemusicfat@gmail.com. Keep up to date with the show and access exclusive content by joining our Facebook group, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and following us on TikTok. You can also check out our website at trimmingthemusicalfat.com. Thanks for listening.